Coming up on Cronkite News, the election is over and Governor-elect Katie Hobbs' team is laying out her priorities for her term.
Plus, we'll take a look at a new documentary that gives Native Americans a platform to talk about what the Grand Canyon means to them.
And later, University of Arizona football missed the mark for a bowl game, but they're determined to come out victorious against ASU this weekend.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Maddie Freeze.
And I'm Connor Miguel. Thank you for joining us. For the first time in over 10 years, Arizona will have a Democratic governor, and with that comes a new transition team.
Katie Hobbs' team is already working on their agenda and inauguration. Cronkite News reporter Valeria Rodriguez has more on what the early days hold for this new administration.
From the Secretary of the State's office to the governor's office, Katie Hobbs is ready to get to work. In a phone call with members of the media this morning, the Hobbs transition team says one of their main goals is to ensure Hobbs is a governor for all Arizonans. Throughout her campaign against Kari Lake, Katie Hobbs emphasized her desire to work with others and reach across the aisle. That is one of the reasons why her transition team says they are hard at work building an administration and policy platform that will reflect the needs of all Arizonans.
You will notice that the transition team, those working to prepare the inauguration, all come from different experiences, different perspectives from across the aisle. So a lot of diversity to begin with. The transition committee is committed to making sure that we are providing as many options as possible and bringing the best and brightest to the table for the governor-elect.
The transition team is planning a private swearing-in and a state of state address in early January. In the newsroom, Valeria Rodriguez, Cronkite News.
This election season hasn't been without controversy, and it's not over yet. A day after Maricopa County announced it finished complete ballot count, Republican candidate for Arizona Attorney General Abe Hamadeh announced he's suing over the state's election results. Hamadeh tweeted yesterday that he and the Republican National Committee have filed a lawsuit against election officials. The lawsuit claims there was a host of errors and inaccuracies and gross incompetence and mismanagement of certain polling places in the state. The move comes after the final ballot drop that put Democrat Chris Mays narrowly ahead of Hamadeh in the Attorney General race. But that race will still be heading for an automatic recount per Arizona law.
The Biden administration announced another extension on the pause on federal student loan payments, according to a source familiar with the plan.
The payment freeze began in March of 2020 to help people who are struggling financially during the pandemic.
Now, the Department of Education will extend the freeze another 6 months, with the first payments due 60 days after the pause ends on June 30th. Payments were scheduled to restart in January after the previous extension. That was when the Biden administration intended its student loan forgiveness program to start canceling up to $20,000 in debt for some borrowers by the end of the year. The extended pause is intended to give the U.S. Supreme Court time to make a decision on the president's student loan relief program.
Back here in Arizona, a well-known spot in the Grand Canyon is getting a name change. Indian Garden is a popular stop along the Bright Angel Trail of the Grand Canyon, but it'll now be called the Havasupai Gardens. It's meant to honor members of the Havasupai tribe who were removed from their inner rim canyon area by the National Park Service's policies nearly 100 years ago. Those people had lived there for generations. In a statement, the park superintendent says that the renaming is long overdue and the name change comes during National Native American Heritage Month.
Voices of the Grand Canyon is a documentary that goes beyond the traditional conversation of one of the world's wonders. This film shares voices of Native Americans and what the Grand Canyon means to them.
Cronkite News reporter Haley Forbes tells us about culture perspective and how movie making gives Indigenous voices a platform, whether it's in English or in their native language.
Movie making is about telling stories and shedding light on often forgotten ones, regardless of the language. It's a space for filmmakers to express themselves.
For our storytellers to
be able to be at the table, in the writing rooms, expressing themselves is everything. It's everything to us.
The Red Nation International Film Festival gives Indigenous filmmakers an opportunity to share their voices and tell their story, just like Voices of the Grand Canyon.
For Native Americans, it can be more complicated. The documentary Voices of the Grand Canyon attempts to correct the feeling by many Indigenous people that their stories are forgotten.
When you're ethically subjecting Native people to a sense of genocide when it comes to cultural beliefs, that's really important to have a different perspective when we're talking about land, when we're talking about water, and when we're talking about our relationship to the elements that surround us.
Some Indigenous people believe it's their duty to share that knowledge.
I believe that's what my ancestors chose for me to do. Since I was young, like I said, all that information was passed down to me. So carrying that knowledge, I'm just bringing it out forward to the world.
Voices of the Grand Canyon shares the perspective of those who've made the canyon their home for centuries. For these people, it's more than a tourist attraction. It's a place of great significance.
Native Americans, Indigenous people were still here, and this is how they viewed the Grand Canyon and the Colorado River.
Cultural perspective has the potential to further understanding of one another, as those involved with the documentary explained. In Los Angeles, Haley Forbes, Cronkite News.
Once Voices of the Grand Canyon finishes its film festival rounds, it will be released to the public. Still ahead on Cronkite News, the UN Climate Summit wrapped up with a renewed call for lowering greenhouse gas emissions. What the U.S. is doing to lower emissions and how Arizona fares.
Plus, should you be worried about your flight getting canceled this holiday weekend?
Ain't no time for imitation, ain't no time for playing. I'm just gonna do me.
Know what I'm saying?
Try to stay out of trouble.
Where's the fun in that? You know how ladies can be.
I'ma do what I do.
Did you know newsrooms today are looking for bilingual journalists? Cronkite Noticias prepares you to cover diverse communities. In Cronkite Noticias, you will obtain an unforgettable experience.
Nopales como este van a tumbar.
Cronkite Noticias.
And develop your skills with the latest technology.
That way the flavors will marry nicely.
Can you tell me what I'm looking at?
I'm not looking for love, I'm looking for cookies.
And there's still places to discover.
It just absorbs you.
You can make this at home if you can't find it.
I will continue to eat and drink until you get here. Get here fast.
Cheers.
Oh, look at that. Oh, doesn't that look good? We are going to be eating well.
It does work.
It does.
We got a happy little sky.
We're just getting started.
The United Nations Climate Summit, also called COP27, wrapped up its 12-day conference recently.
There were a lot of discussion around carbon emissions and the goal to limit global temperature rise to 1.5 degrees Celsius. Sarah Blue has more on how we are doing in the United States and in Arizona.
In the U.S., energy-related greenhouse gas emissions rose by 6% last year. To meet the Paris Agreement's goal, federal officials passed 3 laws. The Inflation Reduction Act, which created tax credits for clean energy technology, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, which generated grants for new next-gen technology, and the CHIPS and Science Act, which funded research for new technology and microchips for electric vehicles.
Those 3 laws will get us to 40% reduction in CO2 emissions and carbon pollution by 2030. But we know that next 10% has to be done with states and cities.
Phoenix saw a large drop in greenhouse gas emissions in 2020. According to a City of Phoenix press release, this was largely caused by the COVID-19 pandemic and the closure of several coal-powered power plants. However, state climatologist Erin Ann Saffel says Arizona temperatures are still rising.
When we're looking at our global temperature changes, or when we're looking at changes that have happened in Arizona, over the last 100 years, our temperatures have increased by about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's coming from that global structure of the greenhouse gases.
An increase in temperatures could impact the amount of snow the state sees. But Saffel says she does not expect a large spike in temperatures. In Phoenix, Sarah Blue for Cronkite News.
The Biden administration aims to reach 100% clean energy by the year 2035 and net zero emissions by 2050. Thanksgiving is tomorrow, and it looks like we're going to have a nice forecast for your mill.
Adam Schwager is in the Cronkite News Weather Center with how your full holiday weekend will turn out.
As we're looking towards tonight's forecast, it's starting to drop, get really chilly. We're going to end up in the mid-50s as we head into the overnight hours. As we look towards everything in the state, in the western part of the state, you're looking in the low 70s. Up north in Flagstaff, it's going to be 41 degrees, the high on Thanksgiving. Down here in Phoenix, though, it's going to be 71. Looking at the dew point temperature, anything below 30 is really, really dry. As you can see from this map, the entire state of Arizona is going to be dry, specifically that northern region, the Grand Canyon, Flagstaff. You're looking at dry temperatures where you're going to want to get some lotion, get some chapstick as we head into this holiday weekend. Looking at Thanksgiving in Phoenix, it's going to be 71 degrees and sunny, perfect for a little turkey bowl football action, maybe before, maybe after, to burn off some of those calories. As we head into the 8-day forecast, the holiday weekend is going to be fairly nice temperatures, but if you're doing a little Black Friday shopping, might want to bundle up. It's going to be 46 degrees in the morning of Black Friday. As we head into the temperatures later in the week, we're looking at the high 60s into the low 60s for a high, and a low of 39 next Wednesday as we head towards the winter months in Arizona. From the Cronkite News Weather Center, I'm Adam Schwager.
Thanks, Adam. Analysts say today will be the busiest travel day of this holiday weekend, and the weather doesn't seem to be causing any major issues.
According to the tracking site Flight Aware, less than 30 flights nationwide were canceled this morning. That might not be the case over the rest of the weekend. Forecasters say heavy rains are expected in the Northeast and Great Lakes areas on Sunday, and that could cause some flights to be delayed or canceled. Several senators are demanding passengers get compensated for those canceled and delayed flights, and even more when the airlines mess up. The airline industry has given out more than $600 million in refunds to passengers so far this year.
I'm Michelle Aaron. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. How these women took to Arizona to celebrate a milestone in women's history.
It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons. Your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS. When you support Arizona PBS, you plant a seed. Seeds that provide educational outreach in our community. Seeds that put our digital resources to work. Seeds that foster the trusted news coverage you expect from PBS. And seeds that continue the amazing PBS programs you love. But our garden can't keep growing without your support. Visit our website to see all the ways you can help our garden grow. Plant a seed with Arizona PBS today.
Welcome back to the Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Michelle Aaron. The University of Arizona football team lost to Washington State last weekend, leaving the Wildcats unable to make a bowl game. But as Cronkite News reporter Brendan Mao reports, it left them eager and hungry for the Territorial Cup matchup against ASU this Friday.
The Arizona Wildcats were quick to put the loss to Washington State behind them in anticipation of their big matchup against ASU.
The locker room is very hurt right now. Locker room also understands and knows that we're on to the team up north. I told them that normally we have a 24-hour rule to move on. We have a 24-minute rule. It's time to move on and get ready for the Cup.
Arizona has lost 5 straight games to ASU in the Territorial Cup, and the last time they played here in Arizona Stadium, the Sun Devils won 70-7. Despite the result against Washington State, Arizona's defense is showing that they can be relied upon in big games.
This was probably our best performance on defense, give and take a couple plays here and there.
The Wildcat defense allowed only 3 points in the second half to the Cougars 1 week after playing a huge role in the upset victory over UCLA. The freshman group that has stepped up big as of late already recognizes the importance of next game.
I'm really just playing for my seniors, trying to get this win for the whole program and all of Arizona, because I know this means a lot.
With neither Arizona nor ASU bowl eligible, all the two teams have left to battle for on Friday is state bragging rights for the next year.
We're gonna have a team meeting about that, players only type, and we're gonna let them know what this really means for not only as a team, but just as a state and just the city of Tucson.
To me, the Territorial Cup is its own game. It's its own game in this season. It's an 11-game season plus 1.
And the Wildcats would love nothing more than to add one more game in the victory column to end their season against their in-state rival. In Tucson, Brendan Mao, Cronkite News.
The Territorial Cup will kick off on Friday in Tucson at 1 p.m. as both the Wildcats and Sun Devils look to crown themselves victors of the state. Arizona State men's basketball earned another win at home against Grambling State after being on the road for the past 3 games. Coach Bobby Hurley wasn't sure how his team would perform after being on the road, but a few good practices kept them in good form. Now, the Sun Devils are generating some buzz after moving to 5-1 on the season.
The way we've won lately is, showed that, there's a lot of potential here with this group, so it's exciting, and hopefully we could, keep building off that confidence.
The high school football playoffs continue this weekend. Desert Mountain High School is poised to make a run at a state title, and it's thanks in large part to their coach. Cronkite News reporter Michaela Nagel has more on how the former NFL player is connecting with his team.
In 3 short years at the helm, Conrad Hamilton has made a huge impact as head coach at Desert Mountain High School. The former NFL player, who played 6 seasons for the Giants and the Falcons, has only lost a total of 7 games since taking over the program. Wide receiver Jack Freeberg and other players look up to Hamilton because of his experience and ability to make this team grow.
He's super motivated himself. He knows the game well. He's passionate, and that's what we look for in a coach. So it's just really great to have him on our staff.
Coach Hamilton had been working with other high school football teams in Arizona before getting the job at Desert Mountain. Being that he lived close by, he knew the program well and decided it was best fit for him. Coming from the highest level, he knows the importance of what makes a winning team.
Proven every year, every day, every off season, in the classroom, off the field, all that stuff. I just think it gives you motivation to come back and rework it.
Because of Hamilton's experience as an NFL corner, he's been able to help players who have the same position improve, as in the case with junior wide receiver and defensive back Dylan Tapley.
My technique overall has improved every single day since he's been the head coach here.
Desert Mountain had a record of 12-2 last year and were semifinalists for the 5A division. This season, Coach Hamilton hopes to lead his team to a state championship, but knows getting the team to believe they can win is just as important. In Tempe, Michaela Nagel, Cronkite News.
Last week, the Wolves beat Verrado High School 38-7 in the playoffs, and they're ready to take on Millennium this Friday. Over 100 women are coming together in Arizona this week to attempt a world record skydive. Cronkite News reporter Liam Archer caught up with organizers ahead of the jump to see exactly how they'll pull off this feat.
The current world record for a women's vertical head-down skydive sits at 65 women, set in 2016 here in Arizona. Two of the women who are part of that world record, Sarah Curtis and Amy Shemelecki, are coming together yet again in the hopes of breaking that number, this time by a long shot.
Basically, we're going to be trying to build a 100-way of women holding hands, 100 of them on their heads, flying upside down in a vertical orientation with their heads towards the earth, which is the fastest way that you can fly towards the earth in skydiving.
In 2020, the Women's Skydiving Network came up with the idea for Project 19, a world record attempt to honor the 100-year anniversary of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the attempt was pushed back until now.
Skydiving is such a wonderful sport, obviously in my opinion, and it's really beautiful and it has power to attract a lot of attention. So we're using that power, that coolness of that cool factor of skydiving to help promote a deeper message. This record attempt is attached to a deeper message, so it really has a lot more meaning to us.
For this attempt, over 100 women from 22 different countries around the world are getting involved. For the last 4 years, these women have been practicing timing, choreography, and formations for this world record attempt.
In skydiving, women are severely underrepresented. There's about 1 woman to every 14 men in skydiving, and we'd really like to see those numbers change. Not only in skydiving, but we would like to see women in more places where they're underrepresented.
According to the United States Parachuting Association, roughly 14% of all skydivers are women.
Because this record is tied to a greater purpose, just recognizing women who came before us and just recognizing women's rights in general all over the world that we're kind of celebrating, which is still a big, big deal in today's day and age. I think people are really excited about that and want to be a part of it.
In Eloy, Liam Archer, Cronkite News.
The women of Project 19 will be building up the size of their attempts over the course of this week until Saturday in the hopes of reaching their record-setting goal. Finally, on this Thanksgiving Eve, we leave you with a message of gratitude from the Phoenix Suns. They're certainly grateful they got a win over the Lakers last night. Here's Mikal Bridges and Damian Lee on what Thanksgiving means to them.
I'm thankful for my family. We wouldn't be here without them.
My family, my wife, mom, family down the line. My son turns 1 on Saturday, so extremely thankful.
And happy Thanksgiving, everyone. That's it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Connor.
Still ahead on Cronkite News, the weekend after Thanksgiving has some of the biggest shopping days of the year. Which major retailers have some of the best Black Friday deals?
This is the moment that we've been waiting for.
There's something different about you, a new brightness in your eyes.
Welcome to the Hotel Portofino.
How utterly charming. Something is coming, can you feel it now?
My dreams have been invigorated.
We like stories that are going to elevate us.
Feel it now.
What is your sense now of the situation?
Something is coming.
They gave us possibilities.
This is the opportunity to share my recipes.
There are heroes everywhere you look. You're going deep into the heart of America.
Holocaust is a story that Americans have to reckon with, too.
This is pure exploration.
Wow!
I want to spend the rest of my life with you.
After the turkey, stuffing, and pie, a lot of folks will be heading out to the stores on some major Black Friday deals.
There's also Small Business Saturday and Cyber Monday. So here are some of the retailers with the best sales this weekend. It's been running several weeks at Target with Black Friday deals, and it's kicking off Cyber Monday deals this Sunday. Amazon is also running Cyber Monday deals starting this weekend. The online retailer will have major discounts on TVs and other Amazon devices. But for other electronics, Best Buy will have some of the best sales. And Nike is discounting some of its sportswear to 50% off. That's it for Cronkite News tonight.
Thanks for joining us. For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
Sorry, Becky.